So we all know that Apple has reserved the touchscreen capabilities to their iPads and their iPhones, but have you ever wanted to turn your Mac computer into a touchscreen device? The all-new Clarity Pro by Alogic could be a monitor for you that you should consider. Let me tell you about it. So if you've been following for a while now, you might recall that last year we were able to review Alogic's Clarity monitor. And what they did was they upgraded and gave us two new updated versions this year with the Clarity Pro and then the Clarity Pro touchscreen, or the Clarity Pro Touch. And what they did was they took everything that we loved about the Clarity from last year and just upgraded it and made it even better for everybody this year. So some of the things to highlight about this Clarity Pro Touch is that you are getting a very bright 4K display, so that's 3840 by 2160, and it's 27 inches diagonally, which is the perfect size for any desktop solution or any desktop situation. And of course, it is a single cable solution, just like any monitor that I use. If it's not a single cable solution, then I'm not even going to consider it. But all you do is you plug it into power, and then you have a USB-C or Thunderbolt port that goes directly from the monitor into your laptop or into your desktop, and then voila, you have an external monitor ready to go. And because it is a single cable solution and it uses USB-C to actually connect to your monitor or connect to your laptop, you can actually use the monitor as a USB-C hub as well. On the rear, you get a bunch of I/O that can be used as a USB-C hub, as I mentioned earlier, and you get two USB-A ports, a USB-B port, you get two full HDMI ports, a display port, you get audio jack, your USB-C port, and of course your DC in. So if you want to plug in an external drive with a USB-A cable, or if you have USB-A compatible keyboards or mice, you can do this by directly plugging it into the rear of the actual monitor. And for those of you wondering, for that single cable solution, you do get up to 65 watts of power delivery, so no need to worry about your computer draining battery if you use a laptop with this monitor. But now, one of the biggest selling points from last year's model was just how quality the stand was on the actual Clarity, and that same thing is going to be true for the Clarity Pro and the Pro Touch. So the stand itself is extremely premium and well made. You can actually pivot, swivel, and tilt the actual monitor with ease with one hand, and it still feels sturdy enough where if you bang onto your desk, it's not going to move, but it's easy enough to use that you can just use one hand or one finger to move it around. So you do get to move it up and down, you get to swivel it side to side, you can even rotate it a full 90 degrees, and it does have an auto rotate feature so it can sense it and actually rotates your screen and kind of gives you exactly what you need, so you don't have to worry about going into your settings to make sure that gets done. Now, some things to consider about the display itself and the specs. So you do get up to 400 nits of brightness, which is actually very, very bright, especially with the glossy display and finish that you have with this display. Like, I've seen other 400 and 500 nit monitors that are a lot dimmer because maybe they have a matte finish on them, but you can see side by side to the laptop, it is plenty bright, and it is HDR 600 capable, so it does have an HDR setting. You go up to 60 Hertz, so that I wouldn't consider this maybe a 120 Hertz gaming monitor because obviously it doesn't go that high, but it does give you the full 60 Hertz when needed. And it gives you pretty much 180 degrees of viewing angles. I believe it's 179 degrees. It's a 16:9 aspect ratio, and then again, like I mentioned earlier, it is a 27-inch diagonal display. So the new updates that came with this Clarity Pro and the Pro Touch are that firstly, you might notice that there is a webcam on the top, or maybe you might not notice it because it is a retractable webcam. So it's fully retracted when it's not in use, and the moment you use either FaceTime or Google Meets or Microsoft Teams and you go to the Clarity webcam, the webcam actually opens up and comes up from the actual top of the display, and that is your new 8 megapixel 1080p display. So the picture quality is great. The fact that it's a retractable camera is great because A, from a privacy standpoint, you know that when it's not in use, it's in the actual monitor and there's no way that it's seeing you, and B, it's just a cool little aesthetic thing that it actually just rises up and lowers back down. And then the second upgrade, which is only for the Clarity Pro Touch, is exactly what it sounds like. It is a touchscreen machine and a touchscreen monitor, so you have a multi-touch 10-point touch display, so you're able to use it with your finger, you're able to pinch to zoom, you're able to almost quasi use it like an iPad, but it is going to depend on what applications you're using. So this is going to be great for Photoshop, great for video editing, but for instance, if you go into just a regular web page and try to pinch to zoom, it's not really going to do it unless it's already supported by that browser. It's always a little bit weird to have Mac OS and be able to touch the actual monitor and be able to touch the window and move it around with a finger, because that's just something we're not used to. We're used to maybe doing it on iPad OS and of course iOS, but now bringing it to Mac OS just gives you another way that you can interact with this display. They do have a secondary stand that's sold separately that allows you to kind of bring that monitor all the way down and kind of treat it as a canvas so you can actually draw on it a little bit more accurately, but again, that is sold separately and it did not come in the box. Like I mentioned, this is a great upgrade to the Clarity from last year. It gives you that 8 megapixel webcam, which is always great to have, with the retractable and the automatic movement, which I think is very cool and very futuristic. And then of course, if you go with the touch model, you get a full 27-inch 4K Ultra HD with HDR and 400 nits of brightness. and it's a touchscreen. And you can use it with macOS and Windows, of course, but with macOS, it looks awesome because it's something that, again, we're not used to. So if you guys need to actually turn macOS into a touchscreen kind of experience, this monitor is definitely something that you should consider. And I will link this Clarity Pro and the Pro Touch down in the description below for you guys to check out. And I believe they are running a 20% off promotion if I'm not mistaken, so definitely click on the link before they run out of stock, because last year the Alogic Clarity ran out of stock extremely quickly. But that's going to do for this video, everybody. Thank you to Alogic for partnering up with 9to5Mac on this video. And until next time, everybody, peace.